Hello, and welcome to the Guidepost Solutions podcast series. We're focusing on school safety. Our guest today is Nick Haywood, who will be speaking with us about classroom door hardware. Nick is an Associate Vice President in the Security and Technology Consulting Group at Guidepost Solutions. He focuses on the education sector, K-12 specifically, on the West Coast. Welcome, Nick.
Hi Tammy, and thank you for the opportunity today to come and talk about door hardware and its importance within the K-12 sector.
Well, we're glad to have you. So, can you tell us, when you speak about school door hardware, what specifically do you mean and why is it so important?
Yes, certainly. Door hardware is a really important component of the security posture that we find at schools and districts in their entirety. At Guidepost, we often perform safety and security assessments that review many different aspects of the security posture. That can include things like visitor management, access control, video surveillance, and mass notification systems, amongst others. Door hardware is always a critical component that is very often at the forefront of the teachers' minds, as fundamentally that is the mechanism that they use to secure their classrooms from people who may have the intent to cause harm in the event of an emergency situation, such as an active shooter incident. We often find teachers' number one wish list item is the ability to secure themselves from the interior of their classrooms, and very often they have no understanding of the operational capability of the hardware that's serving their doors.
I see. So, given the importance of ensuring a safe environment in the event of an incident, what are some of the most common issues you see with classroom doors in K-12 schools?
One of the most the common factors that we come across in the K-12 schools is an inconsistency in deployment of hardware. Very often it may just be inconsistent at the one location, but more often than not it's across entire districts, and we see different types of hardware installed. We get the typical classroom lock set, which, inherent by its design nature, requires a teacher to actually go outside of their physical space, i.e. outside of the classroom, to secure the door from the exterior side. And that's a real risk there, and a danger that we really do try to avoid. Asking teachers to go outside of the classroom and putting themselves in potential harm's way is a risk that we really look to mitigate with some of the newer options that are available in terms of classroom hardware. Again, we see a lack of operational policy and procedure as well, and lack of follow through and understanding from the teachers. Quite often we'll see some schools where they operate with a closed door, locked door policy, and then when we actually perform assessments, we identify doors that are actually closed but unlocked. So I would say there's a huge inconsistency in deployment currently in the K-12 market.
Okay, so what do you propose as an alternative solution to existing classroom hardware measures?
Well, we at Guidepost are agnostic in our product selection, but what we do for our clients is bring to the table best practice products that are actually out there in the current marketplace. One of those such products is the Securitech SafeBolt option. This is available in two different form factors, both the cylindrical lock set and the mortise lock set options. But one of the real advantages and benefits of this particular product is that it allows anybody within a classroom or an office, wherever you deploy this hardware, to simply walk up to the hardware, press a kind of obnoxious red button that's on the trim, and that then throws the deadbolt and secures the door from the interior. There's also a clear door position indicator on the trim itself, so it's readily viewable from the interior that the door is actually locked. And one of the most important factors to really highlight is that that's a really simplistic solution to being able to lock a door and put it into a lockdown situation without the use of a key. But it also always maintains free egress from the interior side as well. And obviously there's exterior key override for authorized key holders.
Okay, so if you've got good door hardware in place, then Who has permission to lock down a classroom, and what does an effective protocol look like?
So we at Guidepost really support and empower anybody who may be within the interior side of the room. If they feel threatened or they sense there's an incident about to occur, they should be able to lock the door down from the interior themselves. We certainly don't promote just the one individual person in the position of authority to be responsible for locking the door down from the interior. There's always a risk that there might be an incident occurring and that the person with responsibility may be on the other side of the classroom. So why run the risk of that person being responsible for securing the door? The use of the mechanical hardware like the Security Safe bolt option again empowers anybody. So effectively anybody within the room has permission to trigger the locking of the door from the interior side. Again though, there's always going to be, we often come across the question, well, what about the children or the students misbehaving and locking the doors from the interior and locking the teacher out? Well, that's where policy and procedure comes into play. It's really important to have strong policies and procedures in terms of brass key issuance. So teachers should always be able to have the ability to override the locked door from the exterior side. But again, if there's misbehaviour from the students, there needs to be a consequence to that behaviour. So again, enforcement of policies and procedures and consequence to misappropriate actions is something that really does support the deployment of such hardware, but also again strengthens the security posture.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit about what kind of training is involved. I mean, it sounds like a fairly simplistic solution once it's in place. So how do you get everybody trained?
Yes, training on this product is fairly straightforward. As I alluded to earlier, all that's required is the activation of a red button to throw the deadbolt and secure the door from the interior. No real prior knowledge is required to be able to do that, but it's really important to ensure that a training program is implemented to make sure that there's periodic reinforcement of the capability of the hardware and how it should best be used. It would be really poor form to make the assumption that everybody knows how to use the hardware. So again, having training as part of the policies and procedures and periodically reinforcing that is the way to go to maintain a strong security posture.
Well, very good. Thank you, Nick, so much for sharing your expert insights today. And for anyone who would like to talk in more detail with Nick, he can be reached at nhaywood@guidepostsolutions.com. That wraps up our conversation today. If you liked this episode, we invite you to visit our website at guidepostsolutions.com, where this and other resources are housed. And please share this podcast with others.